Welcome to Countdown to World Youth Day, EWTN Radio's exclusive World Youth Day coverage, live from Rio, with Elena Rodriguez and Tom Price.
Good morning, everybody, from EWTN's World Headquarters here in Irondale, Alabama. We're delighted to be with you on day 4 of our World Youth Day broadcasts, live from Rio. It's the girl from Ipanema, Elena Rodriguez. Good morning.
The girl from Ipanema here, broadcasting live from the Media Center on Copacabana Beach, Rio de Janeiro, World Youth Day 2013. Under very cloudy skies and foggy, and it's damp, it's drizzling, but the weather has not dampened the enthusiasm of all these young people looking to meet with the Holy Father tonight.
That is good news, because I heard Brian Patrick speaking just a few moments ago with someone who is there in Rio, a delegation from St. Louis, who said they were talking to their tour guide, who said this has been like the worst for this time of the year ever. So.
And that is correct. That's the same thing I've heard talking to townspeople. Last night I was talking. Can you believe this, Tom? I was talking about weather.
What?
With people.
Shock of the face. I can't believe it.
I love weather. I'm a weather junkie, and of course that has to come up in a conversation. And that is the same thing that I've been hearing here. That it really is not typical of this time of year, even though it is winter in the southern hemisphere, it is winter in Rio, to have cold temperatures. It's not typical for it to be so windy. Mm-hmm. We are here in the Media Center. This is a big tent. It's about the size of a football field. It's an impressive facility. But it shakes when the wind comes in, and it's on a hill, and it just drops down, and we have the ocean right next to us. And so it's not typical. It's not typical for the rains to last 3 days. This is our third day so far, I believe, with rain, and we are forecasted to have rain even through noon tomorrow, Friday. So it's coming down, but the pilgrims are making the best of it, and we have spoken with some of them, and they are telling us that they've faced some difficulties, but in the end, all works, and God is good, and they are still having fun, and they are very, very much looking forward to seeing the Holy Father tonight. They just can't wait. They can't wait. The enthusiasm is in the air.
It's a big day on this day number 4 of World Youth Day. Let's talk just for a moment about what people are going to be hearing, and if they're watching EWTN television or checking us out on the web, what exactly they're going to be seeing. Now, the first event that we have here on the radio and really everywhere is the meeting of Pope Francis meeting with the mayor of Rio de Janeiro. And he's also going to visit the slums of Varginha. Did I pronounce that properly?
Varginha. It's like the as in piñata.
Okay,
Varginha.
Very good, very good. I was close. So
very good.
This is not exactly something that you would think of as radio friendly, visiting a slum, but yet it's very powerful. So tell us a little about that, if you would, please.
Well, the significance of the act of handing the keys of the city to someone is symbolic. There are no keys to get into Rio. You just walk in, and there are no gates.
Okay, all right.
It's open for business, and 24/7, 365. But it's the great significance of not only welcoming and rolling out the red carpet for somebody, for a special guest, for a VIP, a very important person, but even so saying, you have the keys of the city, we welcome you, and we want you to be one of us and be able to have the access to the city, the access to our hearts. So that is what's going to be happening first this morning. The mayor of Rio de Janeiro, Mayor Eduardo Paes, is going to be handing the keys of Rio de Janeiro to the Holy Father. And it is very warm, welcoming. It is a diplomatic event, but you see this happening in many countries when the Pope visits. He gets the keys to the city. So this is very, very typical. It's a very warm ceremony, and EWTN, with radio and television and online, will be carrying this live in very shortly this morning. And then the other important thing going on this morning is also, as you said, the Pope will be visiting the slum communities of Varginha, and he will go there. He will meet with a family. He will actually walk inside their their home, and he will sit down, and knowing the Pope, he'll probably just want to have Brazilian coffee with them and just talk. We are sure there's going to be no problems with the communication because, of course, there's people in the papal entourage who can do the translating. But Pope Francis himself, being a native Spanish speaker, will have no problem, we believe, communicating with people in Portuguese. If they speak slowly and you're a native speaker, Spanish speaker, you can understand. And if you speak slowly, they can understand you. They speak in Portuguese, you speak in Spanish, it all works out. And when you see the Holy Father, all you need to do is smile. He'll smile back at you, and that'll get the conversation going.
What about security? I know that security has been a concern spoken of not only here on EWTN, but certainly elsewhere. Is the Holy Father going to be in any way at risk?
Well, the Holy Father will not be at risk. There's always a risk, of course, but he will not be at risk. There's a total of 45,000 security staff members looking over the security at this World Youth Day in total. And he will, of course, be traveling with Vatican security and with Brazilian security forces as well. And the Pope is really not worried about security. We have been able to hear many times Father Federico Lombardi and his press briefers here at the Media Center, and he is the head of the Vatican press office, tell us that the Holy Father was not concerned about security the day he came in, the day he was surrounded by a sea of human souls just swarming around his vehicle. He was having a blast. He was enjoying it. Of course, his security, the head of his security, the Vatican security, was probably having the toughest day in his life. But the Holy Father's not thinking about that. He abandons himself in God, and he knows he's protected. He enjoys very much that contact, kissing the babies, holding people's hands, blessing people, and he actually looks out for children and asks his security officers to bring to him the babies, the young children, so he can bless them and just hold their hands, hold their faces in his hands. It is just beautiful. And there are security concerns. Of course, this is a high risk operation from the security standpoint. The Holy Father, I don't think, will be in any kind of danger. Now, that being said, I was talking to a person about a couple of days ago, a taxi cab driver, who, and I was asking him about how safe is it to go into one of the favelas, the way they call them here, the slum communities, and that's the word in Portuguese, favelas. And he said, I asked him, do you sometimes have to go in? Do you have to give rides on your taxi cab to somebody or go? And he said, yeah, sure, I can go in, I can come out, and it's much different now as opposed to a few years ago. And he says that he grew up in a favela, and of course he even has relatives there still. His cousins and his sister live there, so he has no problem going in and out. But he said that there are tours that take tourists on a normal day to the favelas and back, and it is a reality, very much a reality of the Brazilian way of life.
It's not something we would normally think of here in the United States, going on a tour of a slum. No. And just about every major city has a slum. I don't know of any that don't.
Around the world, this is true around the world. Every country has all the communities around the major urban cities, and it is a reality. But I think it has, the only place that I know, and that's a great point that you bring up, that I know around the world that it's become even a tourist stop, a tourist attraction, is here in Brazil. So I am not concerned at this point for the security of the Holy Father, but I would still keep up my prayers if I were you.
Is that rain I'm hearing in the background there?
Yes, that is rain, and it is very foggy. Actually, some of the plans that were originally on the schedule, the way the Holy Father is going to get to places, have changed due to the weather. For instance, one of those examples is the Holy Father was going to visit the Christ Redeemer statue on top of Corcovado Mount, and he is no longer going to do that. He was going to do that in a helicopter. Well, you can't fly a helicopter when the fog is so dense as it is right now and has been for the last 3 days. So that was a cancellation. And then, of course, yesterday we know that he was going to fly his helicopter from his residence called Sumare here in Rio to the Shrine of Our Lady of Aparecida, which is about 160 miles west of Rio. And, of course, we know he changed his plans, and they had to actually fly him in an airplane, and he had to take a vehicle from the residence to the airport and then hop on the airplane. And then the last stretch from the airport to the shrine, the airport in Aparecida to a shrine, was done in a military helicopter. But the plans are changing, and it's part of adapting to the weather. All of us, all pilgrims and all of the media and the Pope, everybody has had to adapt to the weather, but it's going to get sunny Friday afternoon, and then we'll have a sunny weekend, sunny Saturday for the vigil, very important.
Yes.
And it won't be raining for all those thousands of pilgrims spending the night at the Field of Faith, and from Saturday night into Sunday morning for the closing Mass, which is also going to be sunny. And it's going to be, the high of the day is going to be roughly 75 degrees Fahrenheit, so it'll be perfect. They won't be steaming.
Wow, that is perfect, 75 degrees. Well, we'll certainly pray for good weather, and we know that you're going to stay home and dry there in the tent, but I know that you're also getting out and about talking with pilgrims, right?
I am, and the great richness of the journalistic function here is not in the media center. This is where, of course, you have all the resources, the information, the access to the internet, and you can do your editing, but it's out there when it really, really does happen, when you come in contact with the pilgrims and you hear their stories. Let me tell you, and we're preparing all this material to show you on our show later on at 12 o'clock Eastern Time for the United States today, and of course also tomorrow will be at 10 a.m. Eastern. But we have a lot of conversations that we have recorded for our Countdown to World Youth Day live from Rio EWTN exclusive radio show, where we have spoken to pilgrims. And I even ran into a group yesterday and I asked them, what do you think so far about World Youth Day? And one of the young ladies said, like, oh my goodness, you don't want to ask us that question. And I said, why not? Because this is when you become curious. And she said, we have had so many struggles, and this is not what we expected, and the rain and the crowds. And so I sat down and talked to them, and I will let you share in that conversation a little bit later on. But they are going through a lot of struggles, but they're still keeping up the spirits.
Very good. If you're just joining us, this is Countdown to World Youth Day, live from Rio with Elena Rodriguez, right there in the ground zero of everything. I mean, everything is kind of focused on your beach area right now, Copacabana, right?
That's right, Copacabana, as in the song with Barry Manilow, and it is here. It is very real, and one of the things that is very real is also the meaning of suffering. And there were two main instances yesterday for the Pope to come in contact with the meaning of suffering. And the first one of them was an already scheduled visit that the Pope had to the hospital in Rio de Janeiro,
yes,
which has the same name as he does, St. Francis of Assisi Hospital.
Wow. And
he was able to be with the sick. He actually embraced a man with leprosy. And the Pope pointed out that this man with leprosy is a model for the life of a Christian. Of course, tying in with Scripture very well. And he was deeply moved at the hospital. It was just overwhelming for him. And he spoke a lot about the meaning of suffering and how suffering is very much a part of Christian life. And we shouldn't run away from suffering, the Pope said. And he's encouraging us to become stronger in our faith through suffering. He's also spoken about the redemptive meaning of suffering, meaning you can offer your suffering as a prayer to our Lord. So suffering is not in vain, and he was very much able to come in contact with that. Of course, the Holy Father, as any of us, has had many moments of suffering in his own life.
Sure.
So coming in contact with him is very near and dear to his heart, as well as we know he is a man of a very simple heart. So he enjoys those moments when he can actually be with the people, with the townspeople, and in the hospital, knowing that these people don't lead a normal life. They are tied down by their suffering. That was the first moment of suffering, we could say. And the other moment of suffering was also the Pope referred to the very grave and tragic train wreck in Spain.
Yes.
And of course, today being the feast of Saint James, and it's patron saint of Spain, and the tradition is to walk the Camino de Santiago, which is about 800 kilometers long, and let me translate this into miles. It's probably about 600 miles long, the whole way of pilgrimage. People do it day in, day out, through days and bikes, and they walk, and they finally get to the shrine of Santiago de Compostela in northwestern Spain.
Yeah, and if I can just jump in here, if people have not seen the wonderful movie The Way with Martin Sheen, it talks about that entire route, the pilgrimage, the shrine at the very end. We can certainly recommend that to our listeners.
Definitely. Myself, I have not seen it. I would love to see it.
Oh, you got to see it. It's a great movie.
I've had the opportunity with my parents and my brother to be at the shrine of Santiago de Compostela and to be able to venerate the relics of St. James and to embrace the relics of St. James. And it's a very deep, powerful moment where for us it was the first time that we were in front of the relics of an apostle. So I'll remember that day for the rest of my life. But on July the 25th, the thousands and thousands and thousands of people come from all parts of the world to Spain, and they try to do some of that part of the way of walking the way. Well, a group of pilgrims was in this train on their way to visit the shrine, and they had an accident, and there were about 77 people dead so far. We are praying to God that the people who are still in the hospital in very grave and very ill from the accident will be able to recover. There was 100 and so wounded who are still in delicate condition. And so the Pope spoke about this. Of course, he offered his condolences to the people of Spain and the feasts in Spain. And Spaniards are known for their festivities, and when they are celebrating something, they go all out. And they'll celebrate for days. But they have canceled the festivities in Santiago de Compostela in honor of the victims. And it seems like it was just an accident, and the train was going twice the speed it should have been going on that stretch of track, and it was going so fast that some of the cars, when the impact happened, some of the cars, the train cars, not just derailed, but they turned over upside down.
Wow.
So it was a very grave accident. It's noted to be the most serious train accident in the history of Spain. So the Pope certainly offering his prayers for the victims and the family.
And that's got to be rough for the Holy Father too, because you're in the midst of this joyful World Youth Day event, and then this suffering, this tragedy happens right in the middle of it.
That's correct. And the Pope is very much connected with the rest of the world, even though he is very focused with everything that is going on with World Youth Day. And for instance, he was following the welcoming mass on Tuesday evening on Copacabana Beach. He was following that very closely. He was not participating. He was in his residence in Sumeré, but he was following and very excited to be able to meet the pilgrims and be part of the welcoming ceremony tonight, of course, on Copacabana Beach. But he has very much been following and very focused on World Youth Day. But nonetheless, he is very well informed about what is going on around the world, and he knows, of course, that people in Spain are going to be very much tuned in to World Youth Day in Rio, because they have that warm soft spot in their hearts for World Youth Days since they were the last host city.
That's right.
Madrid was the last host city back in 2011.
Yeah, very good.
And well, speaking of pilgrims and the Pope being very connected, he has made a little change of schedule, and he will find time at some point today to meet with the Argentinian pilgrims. And so we're still finding out exactly what time that is going to happen. Of course, that's a last-minute change of schedule. And the Pope is very much a man who changes schedules last minute, and he'll go out his way to greet somebody in the crowd, and especially the meek and the humble. And so he wants to meet with his fellow compatriots, with his fellow Argentinians.
Wow. Well, very good. So he's just kind of going with the flow. This is like the bossa nova, You're just kind of feeling it. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
We get it.
Exactly. That's a great image. And well, yeah. The Pope just said, like, no, wait a minute. I have to meet with my people too. I mean, they're all my people, but these are my people.
Sure.
And so,
sure.
So he on Tuesday he had, of course, a day off from the public stance. He did not have any public activities on Tuesday. But in the meantime, in the background, a lot of meetings were going on, high-level organizational World Youth Day meetings between the Pope and his staff and the Brazilian authorities. And there was very much a spirit of cooperation and the friendship, and the Brazilian authorities just wanted to check all, go down the checklist and make sure that they have everything ready in a large-scale event, world event such as this. It's very understandable that no matter how much you plan, some things are going to go wrong.
Always.
Some things are, they're going to go. There's going to be unexpected things happening.
Yeah.
So, all these meetings, and also the Pope on Tuesday had a chance to meet with bishops and with clergy as well. Not just for prayer, but for work purposes. So it was a very productive day, even though he was outside of the public spotlight. But definitely a hardworking man, Pope Francis.
Very good. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more for you live from Rio de Janeiro. It is Countdown to World Youth Day here on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Stay with us.
This is Oblate Father Andrew Small, National Director of the Pontifical Mission Societies in the United States. Right now, more than 30 million people are living with HIV and AIDS, mostly in Africa. About 1 in 4 of them receives care and treatment because of the work of the Catholic Church. At St. Mary's Healthcare Center in Zambia, for example, children suffering from AIDS are given medicine and a good dose of the Lord's love from the local nuns who run the center. Similar stories are told throughout the missions, service inspired by the gospel, which not only preaches God's love, but makes it present in our suffering world. It's a lesson from the missions.
Brought to you by the Pontifical Mission Societies. To learn more about becoming a missionary right where you are, visit our website at onefamilyinmission.org. Remember, if you're baptized, you're a missionary. Through prayer and sacrifice, in word and witness, we're all part of this one family in mission.
This is Mary Gannon Kaufman, Incarnate Institute. One Saturday evening after I had spent all day cleaning, our 2 sons from college arrived home for supper. After we ate, I settled down into my lazy boy chair to rest and read the words of one of my favorite saints, Venerable Concepcion Cabrera, a wife, a mother, and a mystic. Her words said, "I feel how the love for my husband and my children and family and all things is concentrated in one sole love." Just then, my son Mike piped up, "Mom, can we go shopping for some clothes? I start my internship on Monday." It was 9:30 on Saturday evening. I tried dodging it, but he said, "The stores are open." I checked online. Oh, the blessings of online technology. I got myself up, we went shopping, and I came home. Ordinary life has countless opportunities for obedience to the present moment, to root out our selfishness and soften our hearts. Mary Gannon Kaufman, IncarnateInstitute.org.
Let's return to EWTN Radio's exclusive World Youth Day coverage, live from Rio.
And welcome back to our live coverage here with Elena Rodriguez in Rio. I'm Tom Price, and in just a few moments, actually in about 7 minutes, we're going to be joining EWTN Television for the meeting with the mayor. The Holy Father meets with the mayor of Rio, and then he'll begin that visit to the slums of Varginha. Did I get it right that time?
That's right, Varginha.
Close enough.
Very
All
well,
right.
very well, yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
Now, one of the other important things that's happening today, and we're going to present that tonight on EWTN Radio at 9 p.m. Eastern, that will be the welcoming ceremony at Copacabana. Now, we've already had a welcoming ceremony, and that was on Monday. But yet here is another one. Why is that?
Well, the one on actually Tuesday evening was without the Pope, and it was a welcoming ceremony more from the side of the Rio de Janeiro, the Archbishop, the Metropolitan Archbishop, welcoming the crowds and welcoming the pilgrims from around the world. Archbishop Orani João Tempesta. I got it right.
Nice, nice.
And this one is the official welcoming between the Pope, the Holy Father, and the young people. So there have been two welcoming ceremonies, and one is from the city, the other one is the Pope and the young people. So that's the difference.
Well, that makes sense, and it actually makes sense, at least to me, that you would have a mass followed by a welcoming ceremony, because everything begins with the mass, right?
Everything begins with the Mass, and everything rotates around the most precious truth of our faith, the source and summit of our redemption, the Eucharist. And this is also true not just at the main World Youth Day events, but also in catechesis sessions that are going on in about, let's see if I remember this, 274 locations? Yes, that's right, 274 locations around the city. I had the chance to go to one of those last night, and I was able to speak to a lot of pilgrims, young people, very energetic. But there was, the combination of the schedule was just amazing, because first they had the talks in the afternoon with the bishops sitting down to talk to them about the real hardcore issues of life. The young people have come here. They want to be challenged. They are looking for answers. They're at that stage in their life where they are ready to change the world, and they still haven't faced that deception and that discouragement from the world, and they're ready to take it on, and they have the energy, they have youth, but they also have a lot of questions, and they're trying to figure out what is going on around the world, why is human behavior the way it is, why is there so much cruelty in the world, and the bishops are there and the priests are there to answer those questions. But they also had Eucharistic adoration in the middle of that, and then they had a very loud rock concert that was all dedicated to Jesus.
Really?
So,
A rock concert?
A rock concert, yes.
And
yes.
why not? And why not? Well, I know that Brian Patrick in the segment we were talking about earlier said that the pilgrims that were there from St. Louis had a catechetical session with Cardinal Timothy Dolan, who, of course, a native St. Louisan, and they said it was just wonderful because he spoke in his very open and joyful way that he is, known for really all over the world. And what a wonderful way to bring all that together in a catechetical session.
That is correct. And everything comes together. Everything comes together in World Youth Day, and it's just magnificent how the young people are able to even connect those dots, because sometimes you wonder, well, as an adult, I can see this, and of course I have a lot of information at my fingertips, but the young people are connecting the dots. They know, they're informed, they are checking the social networks, they are talking to each other, and they're talking to their folks back at home, they're in communication, they're able to connect this, and that's what they're here for, to be challenged in their faith.
Well, very good. In just about 2 minutes from right now, we're going to go back to our live coverage with Father Mark and with Doug Barry, and I believe, we'll just wait and see. I know that there's always surprises, as you were saying. Most of this, 95%, is planned and goes off without a hitch. But there are always things that pop up, and that's why we just go with it, right?
We go with the flow, and that's very much also a reflection on Christian life. You have to be prepared. You have to be, as Doug Barry likes to say, battle ready. You have to have prayer. You have to be encouraged. You have to be strong. You have to practice your virtues. But in the end, you just have to let go and let God.
That's the only way. I want to remind everybody that our next little chat with Elena will be at 12 noon Eastern. That will be shortly after the Holy Father meeting with the mayor and visiting the slums there. Again, 12 noon Eastern, our countdown to World Youth Day live from Rio, and you'll have some interviews with some of the pilgrims to play for us at that time, right, Elena?
Oh, you want to stay tuned for this and listen to these. If you think you have strong faith, you have to listen to these young people. That was the meaning of strong faith. I tell you, this is good. You don't want to miss it. And as we are talking about the pilgrims, now we have to make a switch here. We're getting the video feed from the helicopter that's overflying Rio de Janeiro here, and of course through the clouds we're able to see something that the official motorcade carrying Pope Francis has already left his residence in Sumeré, and he's making his way to the prefectura of the city of, which is the mayor, to meet the mayor of Rio de Janeiro, Mayor Eduardo Paes, to get the keys of the city of Rio.
Very good. We'll be looking forward to all that. Thank you, Elena, for all that you're doing there. We'll talk to you again at 12 noon Eastern here on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Be sure to stay with us now for this special live coverage